It looks like making a good game is officially not good enough anymore. I mean, Ninja Theory made Hellblade, Compulsion made South of Midnight, and Bungie made Destiny. Yet, somehow, all those games are now facing the same problem. We're talking about layoffs, closures, and desperate resets, all because now publisher thinks that critically acclaimed doesn't really mean anything if the money is not big enough. So let's start with the studio that made all those amazing Hellblade games. Ninja Theory was one of the first studios that was targeted by big Xbox cost-cutting initiatives, and they are now looking for a new buyer. And all that is happening just right after they announced their new project in the Hellblade or Senua franchise, whatever you would like to call it, that's called, well, you guessed it, Senua. And now a little bit of history here. I mean, back in 2018, Ninja Theory was all the rage. They just released Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice and it blew everybody away. I mean, the game was relatively short, but still it was pretty impressive. The art direction, the story, the sound design, everything was like top of the line. And even for a small studio like Ninja Theory, they still managed to surpass 1 million copies sold with their debut title. And that's, I mean, pretty impressive, right? And then there was sequel, Hellblade 2, which also was critically acclaimed, also earned a lot of praise about the design direction, the extension of the story, and all that good stuff. But unfortunately, there is no information on the commercial side of things, and that's what right now publishers are looking at. So my guess is that after all the internal evaluations, they decided that titles like this are no longer the priority. Of course, it's worth noting that there is no official confirmation from Microsoft or Xbox at this point, so they're kind of not officially acknowledging their selling of Ninja Theory, but they're also not denying it, and you cannot actually put those rumors back into the box. That, combined with the fact that Xbox just shared a big reset memo that they're now trying to figure out a new course for the company and setting up a new 100-day plan, I mean, that's probably just the beginning. According to this memo, they spent more than $20 billion on various activities like buying studios, expanding their platform, building more content, all that good stuff. With all that said, during the same period of time, their annual revenue dropped dramatically by $500 million. And I mean, considering the 20 versus a half, it's not such a big deal, but for a company that size, it matters. What the report is also saying is that the company is a little overextended right now. They still want to provide the same value to the players, and they want to decrease the time it takes to do so. And all that is a very corporate way of saying that they're going through a big portfolio review right now. So they're picking studios they want to keep, and they're trying to cut all the rest of them loose. And unfortunately for Ninja Theory, their future is still very much uncertain. I mean, they clearly have a lot to offer, and they have a very unique view on game development. Have a lot of great design ideas, they have a unique vision, unique story to tell, but I mean, in a corporate world, that doesn't mean anything. So, out of the blue, they end up in a fight for their lives. And I mean, there is a couple of ways how it could go. I mean, they could potentially find a buyer, they can find some sort of investor, or they could try to go private, but I mean, if it didn't work in 2018, it probably wouldn't work now, especially after Hellblade 2 and the fact that it wasn't a breakout success. And unfortunately, Ninja Theory is not the only studio that's going through that right now. Another studio that's in the fight for their lives is Compulsion Games, the ones that made We Happy Few and South of Midnight. According to Kotaku, after this big Xbox reset was announced, Compulsion alongside Ninja Theory had started negotiating with Microsoft over their fate. Unfortunately, as of right now, there are no details about the nature of those negotiations and what they may entail for both Xbox and Compulsion Games, but it's pretty safe bet that it ain't good. And Compulsion is yet another studio Microsoft bought in 2018 in their streak of acquisitions, and it was right before they published We Happy Few. And to be fair, both We Happy Few and South of Midnight earned critical acclaim, and were pretty good games. They get pretty respectable critical attention, but unfortunately, as with Ninja Theory, there is no concrete information about sales performance or the revenue they brought to the company. And yet again, we are faced with the case where good reviews are not really good enough anymore. And when studios does not offer any concrete numbers and do not shout it on the internet that they sold millions upon millions of copies or brought in billions of dollars, it's usually not a good sign. And that's probably why both Compulsion and Ninja Theory were one of the most vulnerable Microsoft studios. So with games that take years to build, cost a lot of money, and does not provide the company with a lot of recurring revenue, I mean, yeah, that sounds rough in the current market, especially for AA developers. And honestly, I think it's a mistake for both Xbox and Microsoft to put such studios on the market. I mean, they bought them for a reason, right? I mean, they have a very creative and very unique vision, and it's not like they make bad games. They make good games, but for niche audiences. And it's not like Microsoft didn't know what they were getting into. That's exactly why they bought them. Very unique, very niche games that diversify their portfolio. And now suddenly it's not good enough. I mean, I don't know. And I know that it's easier to take an axe and then cut everything, but what was the point of buying them then? I mean, I don't understand. But then again, maybe it's just me ranting. I just don't like the talented studios being closed down. Speaking about tough times, apparently Bungie is not doing much better. So much so that apparently the studio might be heading toward the biggest wave of layoffs the company has ever seen. According to Insider Gaming and a rumor they picked up from a French journalist, apparently almost 50% or even more than 50% of Bungie might be affected by this wave of layoffs. Obviously neither Sony nor Bungie commented on this right now, but I mean, companies don't usually announce stuff like that way in advance. Or at least it's rare when they do it. They usually try to stick to, well, we'll talk about it after it had already happened. And as painful as it is, unfortunately it kind of makes sense, especially after everything Bungie has been through recently. I mean, let's look at their portfolio for a second. They have two main projects, right? Destiny 2 and Marathon. Destiny 2 recently received its final official live service update, meaning there will be no more content, there will be maybe small patch notes, some bug fixes, but probably nothing else. So from a production perspective, the game probably does not need as big of a team as it used to. Maybe some people tinkering with the servers and keeping them alive, maybe some support staff to communicate with players and resolve their issues, and maybe one or two community managers to keep everybody still attracted to the brand. And that's it. And if we look at Marathon, their numbers does not inspire confidence either. With the game recently receiving a second major update, at least according to Steam, the concurrent players only climbed to a half of what they were during the release. And that was during a free weekend, mind you. And after everybody looked at the update and played it a little bit, the numbers quickly declined again to the usual 5 to 10,000 players per day. And that's not enough. I mean, it's not nearly enough for a big live service project, even if we compare it to their previous one, Destiny 2. Even to this day, after all the years of updates with Destiny 2, it still attracts more players concurrently than Marathon did with this big update. I mean, yeah, the Marathon is a new game and they have a lot of big plans, they have a new PvE mode coming up, but honestly, it feels like a last-ditch effort to justify having a larger team. Of course, it does not mean that the game is going to shut down all of a sudden, although these days, I guess anything is possible, but it's not a good sign for the future, especially if they want to keep Marathon alive and keep the updates the same size at least. And personally, I think Bungie made, well, two big mistakes here. First, I don't think they should have cut updates for Destiny 2. Yeah, the game is old. It had its time and now the numbers are not what they used to be. And that's understandable, sure. The decline in player count, decline in revenue, and not as many people are interested in playing Destiny 2 in general. And I get that. but it's a stable revenue that can still support some sort of development going forward. And then there is the decision to go all in on Marathon. And don't get me wrong, I play extraction shooters. I wouldn't say I love them, but I play them. They're a good genre. But to go all in on this game after seeing the initial reaction and initial performance, I mean, I don't know who decided to do that, but honestly, I think this person should be laid off first. And don't get me wrong, I think Marathon is a good game for what it is. It's an extraction shooter, and you cannot really expect an extraction shooter, a relatively new genre, to perform even as much as Destiny 2. So after all those questionable decisions, a big reset is probably inevitable. But I really feel for Bungie, and no studio should go through firing 50% of their employees. And now the last thing on the layoff side of things. Kwalee Labs, the studio behind recently released cosmic horror game Luna Abyss, announced that they let go of their entire dev team. For those of you who don't know about them, Kwalee Labs is a part of a big UK publisher mostly known for their mobile games. And now they're trying to do something new and something a little bit more exciting. And Luna Abyss was their debut project, a first-person bullet hell experience, which looks very much like Sarah's or Eternal. The game very quickly reached very positive reviews on Steam, and on Metacritic it got a critic score of 81. And that's quite impressive for a debut project. The only problem is that, well, nobody played it. The all-time player peak was only 317 players. And only a month later after release, the CEO of the company announced on LinkedIn that the entire team has been found redundant. And the game was and still is good. It just didn't reach enough people. I mean, you probably haven't even heard about it, right? And that highlights another huge problem with the modern industry. Publishers are too scared to invest in the new IPs, because I mean, I bet you anything, if they had invested a little bit more money into marketing, maybe some social media, maybe some YouTube footage or something, the game would have done much better. But the publisher decided that they would rather lose all that money they spent on development than would risk losing even more money if they spent anything else on the marketing. But there is a big asterisk on all that. Apparently this logic only applies to AA games and single player games, to be specific. I mean, we all know that single player games like that do not have a lot of built-in monetization. And that's okay, but apparently it's not the bet that publishers usually want to take. On the other hand, they have no problem investing in titles like Concords or all the Concords that we've had in recent years. If the game had battle passes or any other live service elements or multiplayers or whatnot, publishers have no problems investing in those games because the upside is much bigger. And honestly, I don't think it's fair assessment, because I still think that single player games could do well, even if it's a AA game, even if it's not a huge cultural phenomenon. But apparently the only bets they're willing to take are with live service titles. So yeah, I don't know, I think it's a terrible time to be a AA game developer. And now let's get back to Sony for a second. We've talked a little while ago how Sony was slowly, or seemingly, was moving away from porting their exclusives on PC and other platforms. Unfortunately for PC gamers around the world, it is true. And now we know why. According to a thread on Reset Era, Jason Schreier from Bloomberg shared that Herman Holst, CEO of Sega Interactive Entertainment, had a town hall recently where he shared all the reasons behind it. He basically told all the Sony staff that from this point on, Sony exclusives will just stay Sony's exclusives. And there are three main reasons. First of all, he thinks Sony's strategy with PC ports was inconsistent, which, I mean, yes, but also probably not a big deal. The bigger issue is probably, well, of course, money. He didn't share a lot of numbers, but he did say that none of these games were massive hits they probably wanted them to be. And I'm sure that maybe if not all the games, but most of them made back the costs of porting them. But I'm pretty sure that at the end of the day, Sony executives were expecting to see, I don't know, triple the investments or something. And that's a very hard target to hit, especially for single player titles that have been on the PlayStation platform for years now. So it's no wonder that none of these titles made any headlines. And that's the second reason. The third reason is that Sony wants all these games tied up to their platform once again, which means that they basically want those titles to sell more PlayStations. And that's basically Sony returning to their original approach with consoles, exclusives and all that. My guess is that analysts at Sony ran some numbers and concluded that if those titles had stayed exclusives on Sony's platform, they would have generated even more console sales. And the number of those sales is actually higher than the revenue they got from all the PC ports. And I get that, but unfortunately not everybody could afford having multiple consoles to keep up with every big release. I mean, I sure can't, but I guess it's my problem as a PC user, right? Oh well, at least it was fun while it lasted. And now, after talking about all the layoffs and potential studio closures, let's wrap up on something more positive. There are now new details being revealed about Projekt Sirius. This is that Witcher multiplayer project that CD Projekt Red has been working on alongside The Witcher 4, The Witcher 3 DLC, and all the other Witcher-related projects. Sirius was announced back in 2022 and it was described as Witcher universe game with both single and multiplayer options. And it was being developed by the Molasses Flood, a studio that was eventually absorbed by CD Projekt Red. And now fast forward to today, MP First published a big report about all the new details they've uncovered about the game. According to their sources, Projekt Sirius is now apparently a free-to-play co-op action RPG. And interestingly, they are targeting both PC and mobile. The game is supposedly set during a time where Geralt was still a young Witcher. But unlike other games, you will not be playing as Geralt. Instead, you will be able to create your own customizable Witcher, with all the usual multiplayer customization options like gender, appearance, and stuff like that. As for the gameplay itself, it's pretty straightforward. You'll be hunting monsters across different environments, like forests, ruins, villages, you name it. And I have to say, I'm pretty torn up about this game. I mean, I want to be excited about it, but something doesn't just sit right with me. Maybe it's the fact that CDPR already said that it's just going to be one big experiment, the one where they want to broaden their audience. Or maybe it's the fact that this game already survived at least one big internal reset. Whatever it is, I'll say this, the free-to-play market is absolutely brutal right now. And games like this that are targeting both PC and mobile usually get a lot of skepticism. I mean, just look at the Horizon Steel Frontiers. I mean, Guerrilla Games can tell you all about this skepticism. And whatever the case, this game is going to live and die on a few things. Its first impressions, the retention, and how well CD Projekt Red can actually do their live ops. Obviously, this is not going to move any mountains or bring CD Projekt Red millions of dollars. But as far as the experiments go, that one might actually be a fun one. And that's all I have for you guys so far. Let me know what are your thoughts on all the layoffs and potential studio closures. If you're as upset as I am about Sony stopping their porting initiatives for their exclusives. And if you're intrigued about a potential multiplayer game in the Witcher universe. And if you want to know more, all links are down below. And of course, clicking the like button helps this channel a lot and I personally highly appreciate it. Thank you for making it this far. And with that, Alex is signing off for today. Cheers!